It's time to do a lab project. Grab your sketchbooks. So for this entire course, what we're going to do is design an app for Pizza Pies Unlimited. And for Module 1, we're going to define the user goals and create a strategy document together. Here's your brief. You've been hired by Pizza Pies Unlimited. They want you to design an app that allows customers to order pizza. They want their customers to be able to choose a pizza from their menu. They want the app to send an email to the restaurant, who will then make the pizza and have it delivered. And they're thinking that to make things simple, they'll just have the customer pay the delivery driver. They also want the app to be able to be used on any device. Now, if you just went ahead and started designing an app based on these vague business requirements, you might run into a problem because the pizza app that might be forming in your head may be very different than what the stakeholders are forming in their head. And that's why we create documentation and user experience, to ensure that we're all on the same page and we're all in alignment. So remember the business requirements questions that I brought up earlier. Let's pretend that we're now interviewing the stakeholder and getting some requirements back to gain some clarity. Okay, so some examples of this would be to ask and get clarity on what are the goals for creating this pizza app. Okay, and the stakeholders, say you're talking to Luigi, the owner, and he says, well, the goals are to make more money. And that's a standard goal that most businesses have, but you want to get clarity on that. So you want to ask, exactly why are you creating a pizza app instead of just sticking to the old telephone method that you always had? And so he might say something like, well, I want to create something that's really engaging and fun, that makes pizza ordering a really great experience. Oh, okay, so here's something we can design towards. And then you may ask, how will we know when this has been successful? You said you want to increase sales. Let's talk a concrete number perhaps. And so he might say, okay, let's increase sales by 5%. Good, this is something that we can measure. We can measure the success of your UX design. Another important question is, who are the users? Who's going to be using your app? And most businesses will say, well, everybody, right? But the rule of thumb in user experience design is that if you try to design for everybody, you end up designing for nobody. So it's very helpful to target your designs to target audiences. And so interviewing the stakeholder, he might say something like, well, I've noticed that most young people are always on their phones, and younger people don't seem to like talking on the phone or ordering. They prefer to send texts or use apps on their phone. So I would like to target a younger crowd. Oh, okay, well, here's something we can design towards. And then delving deeper, you would say, well, why would customers use this pizza app instead of calling it an old style? Or what problems are they having that this app will solve? Or what are you hoping to gain from this? And the stakeholder may say something like, well, we have lots of new and exciting menu items, and that takes a lot of time and money to print onto our paper menus, or people don't often notice it on our old website. So this app will make our new menu items really easy to see because they're always changing, and the ordering process should be fun. We want to make pizza ordering fun. Okay, so this is actually something that's a lot easier to design for than the vague requirements given earlier. So now it's time for you to pull out your sketchbook. And if you don't have a sketchbook, it's okay to use a stack of paper if you have printer paper. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to write down the business goals that have been clarified. So based on everything the stakeholder said, you can now summarize them as such, and you can write this down with me. The business goals are to increase the sales by creating an engaging and fun experience. Another goal is to expose more menu items and expose new items to customers. He wants to appeal to a younger audience, so there's our target. And he wants to increase number of sales by 5%, and that's something measurable we can work towards. So it's up to you to find out what the current number of sales are so that you can measure the sales when this app goes live. So that's our business goals. That's one half of our strategy document. Now for the other half, we're going to find out what are the user's goals. And this is where you get to do a bit of homework. Now remember the empathy map that we learned about earlier. What you have to do now is take your sketchbook and draw this empathy map, and draw one for each person that you plan to do research on. Now, as to the number of people to go out and study, you want to do your research on younger people, comfortable using apps on their mobile device. And as to how many, this is a question that often gets asked in the field of user experience. When you're doing this kind of empathetic, qualitative research, you don't need a lot of people. You don't need the statistical numbers that market research does with the large numbers. With this kind of research, you actually get a lot of insights from very few people. And so the number that I like to use is about 5 to 7 people per major target audience. But for your homework, I would say 1 or 2 is fine, just to get you in the habit of doing this kind of research. What I want you to do is observational research. Find somebody who's going to be ordering a pizza. What's important is that you can follow along in this map and observe people as they actually undertake the process of ordering a pizza, as opposed to asking somebody what it was like to order a pizza in the past or getting them to imagine some future ordering, because that's not grounded in reality. What we want in this user research is for it to be grounded in reality. As you're observing somebody order a pizza, follow along with the empathy map with all the prompts that are written here. For example, think and feel. Find out what matters most. What's the most important thing when ordering a pizza? What sort of things are they worried about? What things make it successful? As for C, it's really important to know the environment. Not all the designs we create are enjoyed in a pristine and distraction-free environment. And in fact, for a lot of mobile designs, as Luke Wroblewski says, it's one eye and one thumb that you're designing for, because a person's walking down the street and they've only got one thumb to use your designs. So consider the environment. Considering some of the things they're already using. Are they already using competitor apps to order a pizza? And from that, figure out what works and what doesn't. What kind of things can you avoid? And then you can go around and notice what they say and do, and notice what they hear, but especially note down the pain points, the frustrations and obstacles, and the gains. Those sort of things are working really well, and that will give you some great basis from which to design from. Now, once you've done a couple of these observations, what you can then do is fill out the user goals. So fill out about 4 or 5 user goals that are based on the empathy map. For example, the user goals could be the pain points, the frustrations, what the person's environment is like, and what matters most when ordering a pizza. So these are the kind of things that you want to fill out for your user goals. And then once you've done that, you can fill out this archetype statement. For example, if you have a house full of teenagers and you're observing them as they order pizza and you know that they're often cash strapped, you could write a statement such as, the user is a hungry teenager who wants to get pizza cheaply. And that'll give us a nice, handy reference to design towards as we move forward in this course. So this is your strategy document. I would like for you to have it filled out by our next module. The strategy document will form the basis for all the other lab assignments that we do for the rest of this course.